Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Lyoko Retrospectives, and today we're going to be discussing episode 37 of Code Lyoko, Common Interest. And in this episode, the supercomputer is dying. Yeah, I'm just going to say that right there, right off the bat. In this episode, the supercomputer is running out of power, and as a result, it begins kind of glitching. It and the associated programs with it are glitching, like the tower detection program is glitching out. The Lyoko is starting to fade in and out of existence, and on top of that, it's having a negative impact on XANA and Aelita, since XANA lives on Lyoko and is stored in the supercomputer, and since Aelita is connected to XANA, yeah. Xana tries to take matters into his own hands as he possesses a criminal to try and steal a battery, since it's like, I don't remember the exact term. I think it's uranium power battery. It's a uranium power battery or a lithium power battery. I don't know. It's bomb line. It's a radioactive material it's a radioactive material that one wouldn't normally find lying around, and yeah, that's why Xana possessed the criminal. As his know-how combined with Xana's abilities would allow him to be able to steal the battery with little to no effort. But of course, however, he still has problem. There's still problems as with the supercomputer continually glitching and turning off and on. Xana now, the Xana possessed criminal ends up fainting, and unfortunately, so does Aelita, to the point where during a math test she faints, and they have to rush her to a hospital as her life signs are fading. As such, of course, the group goes to investigate, and they discover what's going on, but Xana does ultimately succeed as he manages to steal the battery. The problem is, though, that he can't just put the battery in himself, as in order to switch out the batteries, they gotta turn the supercomputer off and back on again, meaning that Xana can't be the one to do it. So he kidnaps Jeremy. He goes to the hospital where they're keeping Aelita and where the group is, because Aelita's their friend. Excuse me. And Xana ends up kidnapping Jeremy and bringing him to the factory so he can swap out the batteries, which is all well and good, as doing this will thankfully save Aelita and keep everything going. But the thing is, Jeremy isn't stupid. He knows that the instant he swaps out the batteries, Xana's most likely gonna use this guy to kill him. So he has the group grab Aelita while she's unconscious and rush to the factory. And yeah, the instant Jeremy swaps out the battery, and goes to the elevator, the guy gets back up and tries to make a run and then tries to go kill Jeremy. But Jeremy managed to make it out just in time. In the meantime, the group managed to get there. Aelita's back up and running. And from there, it's standard Lyoko fare. Yumi and Aelita go into Lyoko. They fight off some monsters. Jeremy and Ulrich stay in the real world to deal with Xana. Fight. He gets down to the last minute, and then everything goes back to normal. So yeah, simple plot summary, I suppose. But what about this episode? What was it about this episode that I liked? I honestly don't know. This one. I hesitate to say it's a bad episode because I liked it. I definitely liked it. I think one of the things that it helped is that is the idea of seeing the supercomputer fail and seeing Aelita in this state. The last time we saw her in a state like this was at the end of season 1 when they first turned off the supercomputer and she fainted. Now, admittedly, the recovery time for her at that point was longer than this, as at this point all they have to do is just turn the supercomputer back on and Aelita's back up and running again. But it does add a sense of urgency, and another thing that I like is the idea that the group kind of has to let Xana get this one. They have to let Xana steal the battery, as they have to keep the supercomputer running in order to make sure that Aelita is okay. But unfortunately, what keeps it kind of what kind of holds it back a little for me is the fact that I feel like the group should have been in on this. I feel like it, from the beginning. The group should probably have figured out, or I don't know. again, I like the idea that I like that XANA has the forethought to grab one of them, specifically Jeremy, since he's probably the most familiar with the supercomputer's layout, considering that he works on it. So it makes sense for him to get Jeremy to do it. But unlike last week, where where XANA and the Lyoko kids had to work together to stop a common threat, this time it's just an alignment of interests. In this case, what's going on is that, well, in this case, it's just that the computer is failing, and it affects both XANA and Aelita. Both parties have a vested interest in keeping the supercomputer running for now, but unfortunately, unlike last time where XANA ended things with a bow, this time he's back to going to the group seeing the group as an enemy, which you knew he was going to do. There would be no villain if XANA just said, "Well, I'm not going to fight you guys anymore." So I knew that. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew that. But again, unlike last time, it's not an example of XANA needing to help the group. It's the group needing to help XANA. As he's the one that steals the battery, they're the ones that have to put it in. But unlike last time where XANA ended things with a bow and backed away, this time he's like, okay, everything's back, now on to the killing. So yeah, I think up until they put the battery in is when I'm kind of the most invested in the story. Because I do like that. I like seeing the computer glitching out. Like at one point they sent, like, earlier in the episode, Odd and Ulrich went into Lyoko to try and find the activated tower, and they managed to find it. But while they were in Lyoko, the supercomputer stopped working, and stopped working, cutting off access to Jeremy. As such, and on top of that, they actually saw firsthand Lyoko failing as the landscape began to devirtualize the group. They had to run away on their cycles, and then even those failed. And to make matters worse, because they're cut off from the scanners, because the supercomputer's failing, that means they can't. It means they can't be devirtualized. As both of them end up shooting the other with their weapons, and they don't get killed. And they don't, or at the very least, they feel it. So yeah, it pretty much means they're kind of screwed, right? So yeah, it kind of adds a nice little sense of tension, and it's me kind of worry about Aelita's life, and you realize you gotta work with the bad guy again for this one. You gotta help him succeed. You gotta let him get the battery in and then return and get everything working and make sure that your friend's okay. But after the battery goes in, it's just kind of the standard Lyoko formula. As once it's in, Aelita's safe, the supercomputer's running, gotta get her into Lyoko and deactivate the tower as XANA takes his possessed body and tries to kill them with it. So yeah, that's ultimately a problem. Okay, maybe not a problem. Again, I feel like the first half, about everything up to, I think the first 2/3 of the episode are the best. As we see Aelita kind of feeling weak as the supercomputer is going off, seeing XANA trying to get the battery, seeing them and worry about Aelita as things get worse, even seeing the supercomputer fail while two of their own are still on Lyoko. I love that. That is some nice stuff. But again, it is nice that, and I do like it's one of those moments where they have to work together. But but again, unlike the last episode, it's just once everything is working, it's just standard Lyoko fare from there on out. Deactivate the tower, stop XANA from causing more mayhem. So yeah, the last third is kind of what brings the episode down for me a little, but the first 2/3 I think are nice. Seeing the supercomputer fail, seeing Aelita kind of cling on to life when it does, seeing XANA have to try and get the battery away, and I liked all that stuff. I think that was good. And made for an entertaining episode. So, and as a result, the first 2/3 of the episode I think are what make this one worth watching. I like it. It's an interesting idea, and I think it's executed well until the third act. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson. I'll see you next week. Take care.